But believe me, the second after they like your shit on Instagram, they're scrolling through that feed and they've forgotten about you. And so this whole fear of what people think of me, a somewhat disheartening yet liberating principle is they're not.
It's so simple, but it's so true. Sitting down on the job, eh?
We are.
You guys are. All right, welcome. Today I've got Jack Delosa. Mate, thank you for joining me.
So good to be here, Perry.
Absolutely. So Jack is the founder of The Entourage, also entrepreneur and investor. I'm Perry Henderson, so I run Missing Link social media, but Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, to you I'm probably the social media guy that dislocated his shoulder playing volleyball before
so
jumping out of a plane.
So you could have come skydiving.
Every
time I see you, I'm like, man, I hope he's gone skydiving since then.
I haven't.
I still feel it in my soul every time we catch up.
I know.
So we took, what, was it 80 entrepreneurs down to Wollongong?
Yeah, what was that, 2013 or 2014?
2013,
yeah.
Maybe even 2012. Probably 2013.
It could have been.
Yeah.
I'd say.
It was early on in the piece because we started on Project 2010. And so 80 entrepreneurs having a blast down in Wollongong for a day, and then we decided to play some volleyball. This guy falls on his arm, needs to go to the hospital, comes back with it in a sling, can't jump out of a plane anymore. Yeah. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. I had something, because you know how we were supposed to be jumping out of the plane to kind of signify something.
Yes.
Breaking through something, we wrote it down.
We need to do that again.
So here's good old Perry on the bus, window seat, looking out the window, arm in sling, looking at this piece of paper, just did not get to jump out of the plane at all. So yeah, I'm gonna have to do it at some point.
Through your fear.
I know. I'm gonna have to find that piece of paper
funny.
too. I was trying to remember. I think it was something like courage or perseverance or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Well, you've got that in spades anyway.
Yeah,
so.
100%. It's on the bucket list now.
Nice.
Yeah, that's good. 100%.
I'm glad you raised that because it's always front of mind whenever we catch up.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. But really today, man, what I want to do is talk a bit about you because you've got a pretty epic story to tell. And I think it's quite inspirational. And I've started basically interviewing a bunch of people that have inspirational stories that we can tell, that we can share with people to kind of empower people.
Yep.
And also talk a bit about social media marketing because it's something that you've invested in. I mean, you invested a lot of your R&D in a lot of different things. Yeah. But I know that social media marketing is something that you're doing well yourself, executing well yourself, talking about content and personal brand. So why don't we just take a couple of steps back, start with a little bit about who you are, kind of where you are now and where you started.
100%, man. So, you know, I think that my business career started at the age of 6, and it didn't, but it did in that my parents ran a not-for-profit organisation called Breaking the Cycle. Okay. And so they'd take long-term unemployed youth off the street. Long-term unemployed youth is like the government bureaucratic term. Yeah. It's like youth at risk off the street, and they'd put them through a 3-month training program, then they'd place them into employment. And they'd only take a finite number of young adults each year, right? People sort of between the age of 18 to 25. And so they deliberately choose the worst of the worst, people that were, you know, on and off drugs, from abusive homes, in and out of jail.
This is your parents that had chosen them?
My parents,
yeah.
So my dad was the managing director, mum was the head trainer.
Wow.
And so they deliberately choose the people from the most challenging backgrounds. They put them through this 3-month program of life skills and employability skills and all that sort of stuff. And then even though they'd choose the people from the most challenging backgrounds, they were the most successful job placement agency. They were so much more than a job placement agency, but again, government term, in Australia, right? And so they were super successful. And so that's the environment that I grew up in. You know, I would wag school and I'd be in mum's classroom as she would be teaching young adults life skills. And so Breaking the Cycle taught me a couple of things. First thing it taught me is that the traditional path doesn't work for everybody, right? And this is only more true today, and it's becoming exponentially increasingly true, which is the traditional path of go to school, go to university, get a corporate job. It just doesn't exist anymore. I mean, people like you and I have been saying this for 10, 15 years. Now the world's kind of seeing it as well, and the data's starting to back it up.
And people are starting to call it out as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Like, man, like you know, any entrepreneur watching this is like, fuck, it's 2019, and we're having this conversation now. Like, didn't you guys see this in 2002?
Yeah.
You know, like it's anyway. And so, it taught me that regardless of somebody's background, if they're put in the right environment, surrounded by the right training, the right education, the right people, that they can turn their life around, right? Regardless of where they've come from. Yeah. Breaking the Cycle was not for profit. They were dependent on government funding. Government pulled the funding. So the organisation collapsed. And I think that's where I got my commercial side from. Okay. And so like from the age of like 8 or 9, I wanted to build businesses that did meaningful work for human beings. But it was important for me that those businesses be profitable and self-sustainable and scalable on their own 2 feet. And so if you had seen me at the age of 14, I would have told you I wanted to be a politician, because it was just business for me is just about influencing the world in some way. And then the business stuff, you know, dropped out of uni at the age of 18, dropped out a comm law degree, started a marketing company, made every mistake in the book, started another company, went pretty well, started a third company called MBE Group. We're helping small to medium-sized enterprises raise money from investors. Helped our clients raise about $300 million. We became one of the fastest growing companies in Australia. And that kind of gave me the financial foundation and the experience and the credibility and the profile to do what I always wanted to do, which is essentially start a school for entrepreneurs, which is today what you see in the Entourage.
Perfect. I also know that, and I kind of cast myself back to that episode where you were on the rooftop.
Yeah, man.
You know the one I'm talking about already, don't you?
Yeah.
And that was some of the most authentic content that I've seen you capture.
There was the government stuff, there was departmental stuff, there was the lease, there were the fucking 6 or 7 legal cases going on. And because we're in a office that's not being maintained by the landlord, I'm literally sitting there with all of this, with fucking water coming through the roof. It's like things are literally crumbling, like literally. And so I'm going, like, these messages, is there something that, like, if you want me to, if you want me to guess it, just,
the roof came,
you know,
on you.
yeah. Like, are these signs that I should be adhering to? Right.
I know that was a period in your life, and in a period that was of immense adversity. Yeah. And I thought that was a beautiful piece of content that you were able to capture then. And it really showed the adversity that people can go through, you know, having 100%. The rug taken out from under them. Yeah. This kind of dovetails into content creation, right? Yeah. And authentic content and being vulnerable. Yep. You know, you didn't have this ego that prevented you from creating content of a huge point in your life where you're facing adversity. So can you perhaps talk us through your thoughts on, you know, how being authentic needs to overlap with being vulnerable? And
and I'll start with that period because it's probably good context, then talk about why we decided to tell the story. So, so essentially, the Entourage started in 2010. We're growing 100% year on year. And then in 2015, we decided to go into accredited education, government funding, government qualification, so diplomas and advanced diplomas and all that sort of stuff, because we wanted to influence the education system from the inside out. Yeah. And we did that. We launched incredibly successfully, and the results we were putting up on the board were literally 10x industry average results in terms of what was going on in accredited education at the time. Amazing. And so we just did it so well. And then the government, there was a couple of dodgy providers in the space, and rather than re-regulating to, you know, prohibit the dodgy providers from participating, what the government tend to do is, you know, whether it's solar, whether it's roof vats, whether it's education, doesn't matter what it is, they throw money at something, they don't regulate it properly, a couple of people take advantage of it, and then rather than re-regulating it to have those people sort of ousted, they come through with a wrecking ball and they destroy the industry.
Demolish it.
And so that had us in October of 2016. The government changes had us 3 months away from a monthly loss of 800 grand. Monthly loss of 800 grand, 3 months. And so there's no business model, no products that would exist beyond this 3 month window, 90 staff, and significantly in debt already because of some of the government things that happened that year. Yep. And now looking down the barrel of that kind of a loss. And so it began the hardest period of my life. You know, we needed to go from 90 people to 40, 90 staff to 40 staff in a day. which is like cutting off your right arm, as you know, when you have a culture like we do.
Yeah.
We needed to build a new business model and build new products and re-engineer everything and raise money. And it was an incredibly challenging period.
Yeah.
To your point around why tell the story, I think it's incredibly important in any aspect, but particularly for entrepreneurs, because business is fucking hard, man. It's slow, it's risky. I mean, you'll have 2 quarters where you go like this and you go, right, we're going off here. And so you'll build your expenses up, and then your revenues or your sales will drop for a quarter or 2. Your revenues will come down, your expenses are still up. And so, you know, even seasoned entrepreneurs are often caught out with cash flow problems. You know, it's high risk, it's high stress, it's high demand, it's high change. And so from a content perspective, speaking to the romantic side of entrepreneurship, I don't think people actually really connect with that. Real entrepreneurs don't connect with that. I mean, you know, people that are yet to be in the game might connect with it because they still
aspire to.
Yeah, because they still believe in the fantasy.
That's the lights of it, you know, the shining lights of
exactly.
it. Exactly.
Whereas, you know, real entrepreneurs, they know what it's like. And so whether you're creating content for entrepreneurs or whoever you're creating content for, the more you can speak about your vulnerabilities, your challenges, your failures, your risks, your fears, your doubts, your insecurities, the more you'll resonate with people, because the more they'll know you're being real with them.
It's so true. I just did my first rant.
Nice.
On that
what
note.
was your rant about?
The marketing industry. So,
oh God, nice. I want to watch that.
Wait for it. So yeah, please do. And it was organically got the most traction.
Right.
LinkedIn, because I posted it on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Yep.
Just being practical, I don't have the time to create content for each platform
100%.
Natively yet.
Yep.
Some stuff I share natively.
Yeah.
But I got an email through, and it said, "Your path to instant customers" was the headline. And Raf and I, a guy on my team, we were working a Sunday together, slogging it out, trying to get customers.
And then I get instant
working, and I thought, you know what, I'm calling this out. Hey, so just working in the office with Raf today. I know it's a Sunday, but the business is growing, and we got an email through, well I did, and it said, here's your plan for instant customers. And I think if I'm going to rant about anything, it's going to be this. It's going to be people who are spruikers, you know, people out there who are saying, I can do this for your business, but they don't know your business compared to anyone who could be across, you know, on the other side of the world. And I know it's been in the game for a long time now, but it's almost like it's a race to the bottom. And the reality is there's no silver bullet that's going to transform your business in 30 days. You know, someone's not going to just walk in your business and click their fingers and you're going to have 10 times the customers that you do. It takes hard work. And I think, you know, the industry needs some integrity restored. People need to start being authentic and realistic. You know, you can't just start with the bottom of the funnel. You need to start at the top of the funnel with awareness. I think people are smarter than that. So if I'm going to rant about anything, it's going to be about spruikers who are just, you know, racing this industry to the bottom. Because it's been bubbling away for such a long time.
Man. Think about my fucking industry. Like people selling training and stuff, you know, become a millionaire in 7 minutes a day, and it's like, oh.
I was just talking to Chase about that.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy.
And so, yeah, in less than 60 seconds, you know, Raf in the background, me just face to camera like this, leaning
because
forward.
It was in the moment, and therefore it's authentic and it's real, and people feel that.
So I just had a little rant about how I feel like, you know, marketers need to restore some integrity. They need to understand that they're actually making a promise.
Yep.
And if you bring people into your sales cycle with that level of expectation, what do you think is going to happen as soon as you first, you know, hit your first? You're not talking about testing, you're not talking about branding, you're not talking about the top of the funnel. You're just talking about the end result.
Yeah.
So if you get an email through and it says, "Here's your path to instant customers," what level of expectation are you setting? So you're going to have retention issues. But as well, there's other people.
Very good point.
There's other people who. You know, the people that are doing it right, the people who are trying to educate, and this is where I've started listening to more Seth Godin, and he talks about being more market-driven rather than marketing-driven, and that's kind of changed my perception of how I want to start helping our clients grow, you know, rather than just going ads, return on investment. It's like, wait, we don't think you're ready. We think you need to take a couple of steps back.
Man, that retention thing you hit on is wise, and it's wise because people only learn it often from experience. Maybe you've seen it in clients. Yeah,
I'm talking 100%. From experience.
Yep, yeah. Same, man, same. From the early years, right, which is you make the grandiose claims that are highly questionable because you think you need to in order to compete in a noisy environment, and you attract people who believe that to be true, and often it promises easy results, and then they want easy results, and when they don't get easy results, of course, they go to the next person that's promising them easy results. You're better off having an authentic, real conversation up front and winning the customers that you want. 100%.
That is my language, except you articulated it really well.
No, you articulated it well. And the other thing is you should link up. I'm interested in the Seth Godin being market-driven rather than marketing-driven. That piqued my interest. I'm sure it piqued your guys' interest as well. Maybe post that link. I'd love to read it.
Absolutely. So it's called This Is Marketing.
Right.
And I mean, he's always been a legend in marketing. But the whole thing is really about restoring the integrity back into marketing and giving practical examples and case studies of how it applies. And yeah, like I said, I think, you know, if you're setting the wrong expectation with people, they're just going to keep jumping ship because no one's really, and that's where we're actually attracting a decent amount of customers from people who are becoming burnt.
Yeah, same.
You know what I mean?
Man, we get, because obviously at the Entourage we do coaching and training for business owners, and generally speaking, business owners doing over $1 million revenue, right? So they're experienced, they're quite intelligent. Same. Most of our customers come from business coaches,
skepticism
that haven't run a business.
It's almost like they're sweating skepticism.
Oh man,
you know?
and they're like, oh fuck, so you guys actually know how to run and build businesses? We're like, yeah. Sounds obvious, but unfortunately we live in a world where it's not.
It sounds like, oh, congrats Perry, 6.5 years of doing social media, you've just realised this. But I've actually, as I mentioned, started my own personal brand.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's been incredible.
I think the 6.5 year wait is a good thing, man, because you've built your own results and you've built your own credibility, and you know, and so I wouldn't sort of label that gestation period as anything other than you building you know, it's almost exactly what we're talking about, right? That's your substance. That's fucking cool.
Yeah, you're right. And on that path of discussion, I just realised that it can be really hard trying to portray your personal brand through your company. You know what I mean? So you've got Jack D, and then you've also got the Entourage.
Yep.
But it's given me so much freedom to be myself,
Yeah.
to stop overthinking content, to capture things in the moment.
Yeah.
And I actually had a free workshop on Tuesday where I did a meetup and I put it out there, spent $75 promoting it locally, and it was basically, come meet up with me. We're going to get out our phones together. I'm just on the adventure of starting my personal brand. Come rock up, half an hour together out of the front of a cafe. We all just get around, start getting our phones out and making mistakes together. I'll show you some tech we use. We'll talk about ideas and concepts and take it from there. And then we came there and it was such an intriguing piece of content to capture. I mean, when was the last time you saw content of someone, a specialist, out on the street doing a workshop with 8 random people around him?
Because I'm at the startup stage and I'm just doing...
Can I have your phone for a sec? I'm going to record you talking about this in a sec. So I'm going to interrupt you and I'm going to tell you what I want you to talk about. I want you to talk about, if I can figure out how to... Oh, there we go. Yep.
Slide it across.
All right, so your content pillar is, this is business and it's education, and I just 100 minutes, half a minute, just talk to me about how people need to know. You need to, as owning a horse, it's your responsibility to know what you're actually feeding your horse and what the ingredients are. 2, 1, action.
So, hi, I'm Colin Price, and so I'll leave you with that message, but you know, that's really the critical thing when you care and love your horse just as much as we do.
How good was that? How good was that? So that's what I mean about not talking about your product. You know, now you're an authority, now you're an expert, and people want to know more.
I want to buy a horse.
And yeah.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, it was really, really interesting, and tapping into everyone's vulnerabilities was a huge part. like whether it's self-esteem, I call them little demons,
Yeah.
Like, you're too old, look at your head, like, or whatever it might be, like all these little demons, like when you smile, one eye is smaller than the other, like all these things, no one notices.
No one fucking notices.
Yeah.
Or cares.
Yeah. and I've got mine
I
as
was
well.
talking about this yesterday, man. Like, even when you have a little bit of profile, still no one cares. Like I've been really fortunate enough to have incredible friends and relationships throughout my life, and when people get a little bit of profile, they tend to get even more self-conscious, and it's like people are reading your books and they're liking your stuff on Instagram. But believe me, the second after they like your shit on Instagram, they're scrolling through that feed and they've forgotten about you. And so this whole fear of what people think of me, a somewhat disheartening yet liberating principle is they're not.
It's so simple, but it's so true. It's so simple, but it's so true. Another point, like I was talking to another guy. I was walking my dog, Duke, absolute legend,
dog?
Weimaraner.
I don't even know what that is.
Some call them like the elephant dogs. They're basically big, floppy, grey, short hair.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll show you a photo
Such
after
a
this.
dog man, man.
Yeah.
How you going, mate? Good.
Is my baby? No.
Oh, he's such a gorgeous boy.
Yeah.
And anyway, walking, listening to Gary Vaynerchuk's Crushing It.
Yep.
Because I got about a third of the way through and I stopped because I was like, I cannot listen to any more of this until I'm implementing. Yeah, you would have done that as well, I imagine. You start reading something and you're like, I'm stopping until I can start implementing. So it was like a year break between when I actually started doing it again. And there was a guy talking about his experience in construction. And then I just had this idea, and so I called up my mate who works in construction, and at the moment his content it's not of him, it's not of his passion, other than him maybe sharing an article or a blog post about sustainability. So, and then, we went through this really interesting conversation about what he thought he was creating this perception of, green, environmentally friendly, and being concerned about the images of his video and saying like, it doesn't really match the style of content I'm creating for me to just flick out my phone and create something authentic. And then he started talking about, a few of his, what he felt people might notice about him and might perceive the wrong brand. And then it ended with a discussion of him having this realization that, through me saying that no one cares and everything else, but I was like, the number one thing that will differentiate you from your competitors is you actually live caring about the environment. He's always, it's not just about building sustainably, but it's also about, commenting joining really intelligent conversations about, the environment and politics, and it's embedded in his soul. But there's a lot of businesses out there, competitors, who will just put their hand up as a marketing tactic to be environmentally sustainable because it's a niche and it's trending. So you need to put yourself out there because that's the number one thing that people are going to connect with.
100%.
Your photos, someone could be doing better photos than you, sharing smarter articles than you. But if you're talking face to camera, the passion's coming through, that's what you need to be communicating.
People crave real, particularly today because there is so much noise and videos and so much noise on social media and all the rest of it, that people can tell, man, and like it's the only thing that cuts through. And the good news is it will only ever be the thing that cuts through. That's good news.
Yeah, and the sooner you start,
exactly,
the sooner you can get over your fears.
Yeah.
Another example, I think this is good because these are all the things that I'm really starting to learn on the job when I'm talking to people. And as part of that workshop, I said as well, like, how cool is it now that I'm capturing me transforming myself from company brand into personal brand and capturing the story? Because I bet you in 3 years from now, I would have wished that I could have captured the mistakes and 100%. All the learnings when I was doing it.
Yeah. And it's the fear of future contradiction, right? Like some people thinking, fuck man, I'm still learning, therefore I don't want to put out content now and then learn something in 6 months' time, adopt a different view that contradicts my present self. And so it's the fear of future contradiction. It's like, don't worry about that. Like, this is your truth now, and that'll be your truth tomorrow, and that'll be your truth the next day. And guess what? If you discover a new ultimate truth 6 months from now that's contradictory to your current truth, there will be people who are still at this stage of the journey that will probably relate to your past truth more than they do your current truth in 6 months' time. And so it's perspective and context, right? And so, yeah, I agree. I think fear of future contradiction is unwarranted. That's not to say if you don't know what you're talking about, you should talk. That's not to say you don't need expertise. I think you do. I think you need substance and expertise. But provided you do, just recognise your views will constantly change and evolve, because that's the kind of person you are. And so sometimes the shit you're saying 1 year is going to contradict the shit you said last year, and that's beautiful.
Especially if you're being authentic about why.
Exactly.
I said this 6 months ago,
Right.
I couldn't have been more wrong.
Yes.
I have learned.
There it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you try to like hide it or potentially not address it, then you can start to contradict yourself. But everyone's human, and making mistakes is part of being authentic, which is part of creating content.
Yeah.
Do you think you see a lot of people in social media world over-investing on trying to push sales messages and messages about their product as opposed to creating content?
Undoubtedly. I mean, yeah, like, along the topic of honesty, I mean, we've probably fallen into that category in the past as well, because, and this comes back to the importance of diversifying through channels. But if 95% of your business has come from Facebook for 2-3 years, and you didn't have the hindsight to diversify into other platforms while Facebook was still good, and then Facebook starts to decline, ideally you're always leading with social value-add content. But if the platform's declining and you're yet to properly diversify into other channels, you might need to get a little bit sales heavy just to cover expenses and hit targets or whatever else. And so I can certainly see why some entrepreneurs get into a bind where they need to be sales heavy. And so if you're in that bind, then I suppose it's contextually not acceptable, but understandable.
Yes.
Right? Where it would not be understandable and not be advisable would be, you know, I build pools for people in their backyard, and I just don't know any better, and so I keep trying to sell pools. It's like there's a more effective way, and the more effective way would be talk, connect, talk about things that are valuable to your audience, talk about the kind of things they want to learn, think about what frequently asked questions do they have, and talk to that, and showcase you building pools. And because it's social media, it's not direct selling media, and so if you can use the platform in a way that's contextually appropriate, have a discussion, have a dialogue, be authentic, add value, and then retarget people that are watching your content with ads after they've, you know, bought into you and built a relationship with you, then that's the ideal strategy.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
The other thing that I guess I've really been realizing lately is the different roles that different channels, not just in terms of social media, but email, Google ads, and all the rest of it play, because I talk about this concept of, I think it was Taki Moore. Do you remember the Taki Moore workshop way back in the day?
Taki's a legend, yeah.
100%. He is a legend.
Yeah.
And I follow a lot of his stuff. And he talked about this concept of future buyers and now buyers.
Yep.
And, you know, I really see the now buyers in Google, because they're the ones going there with, the high intent.
Yeah.
People on social media, they're not on there searching for problems. They're on there to be entertained, to be educated.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And so if you're creating content, and that's where knowing your channels makes so much sense.
100%.
Because not just through, as I said, social media, which is more about what content is native to which platform.
Yeah.
More professional LinkedIn. You can get away with more interest-based stuff, you know, Facebook and Insta.
100%.
But as well, utilize the channels for the context that the audience is actually in, the mindset that they're in, ready 100%. To consume.
Yeah.
So I think that's another big part of it is looking to Google ads to serve the bottom of the funnel, as well as social media can. But you've got the advantage of the future buyers.
100%.
And you can start building authentic native content to that platform and engage them in a way that you can't through other platforms.
100%.
Well, look, mate, I think we've covered a lot of gold today.
That was gold.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to share it because, as I said, these are problems I see people facing currently when it comes to creating content. And I think the hardest place to start on social media, it's not boosting a post, it's creating authentic content.
Yeah.
So I really hope that our audience has found a lot of value, and I definitely have. So
good. Thanks, man. Well done on doing what you're doing. It's awesome.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers.
Yeah, much appreciated.